Hey, what's up? I'm gonna play the game I've been trying to finish for over a month. Is it over a month? Yeah, over a month because the fucking blackout happened about 28 days ago, 28 or 29 days ago. And I've been trying, the last time I played this was on the 20th of last month. Last time I got to play it. So that's fun. Hopefully my voice sounds really, really good on this new mic. Sure looks like it does, but I can't hear it. And hopefully when I switch screens, it won't abruptly shatter my voice into a million pieces. But here we go. Here we go. Do I sound good still? I tested it, but
That's fine.
It does sound good? Alright. Excellent. So we're going to try to finish up Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney the first. I'm not going to play the second one immediately after. I will likely get around to it eventually. I plan on it. I can't promise it because I can't promise anything. Ever. If it involves thinking more than a couple days into the future. So, let's give this a go. How you doing, Bad Road? How you doing, Christy? How you doing, anyone else listening? Whether here on Twitch, or on the YouTubes, or even on the Twitch VODs, which has been real fucking popular. Hey, VOD watchers. Love y'all. Would love it even more if you could make it for a live stream. I want to put that out there. No pressure. No pressure. But that'd be awesome. Alright, before we start, you know what? Let's just do this right away. Because this is the most important thing, is hitting bang donate, as well as Taylor in the chat. There are many, many protests going on around the country in pursuit of a more or less singular purpose of equal rights. Just civil rights, basic human rights for Black, Indigenous, people of color in America. Because that's not something that they've been afforded in the past. This country has a long, long history of racism and hate, and as much as we'd like to believe that doesn't, as much as we'd like to pretend, I should say, that doesn't, because no one fucking believes it, I'm sure. No, there's people who believe it, and y'all are wrong. But as much as we like to pretend that racism is over when there's a Democrat in office, it's just not true. Guess what? Joe Biden, still a very, very conservative man. He's done a lot of bad policies. Same with Kamala? I want to say her name correctly.
Kamala.
I thought it was Kamala because people were saying... Damn it. Let me look this up real quick. Kamala Harris pronunciation. Here's how to properly pronounce this name.
She's a U.S.
No, fucking I don't want CBS to, rooted in South Asian heritage, from India. Okay, I know where the name comes from. Despite holding some still saying it. Best way I can... Okay, it's Kamala. Okay. I thought so. I wasn't sure on that. But anyway, she's also very, very conservative and has done a lot of not so great things as a district attorney. And we need to hold them to the promises that were made during the campaign and then some. We need to push them to do better for America than has been done in the past. This is what these protests are all about. Breonna Taylor was murdered by the police in the four walls of her own home, and her murderers were not indicted for their crimes. They are still free. They got off with not even a slap on the wrist. It's fucking sickening. Police violence needs to end. All these systems that are in place to keep people of color down in the United States need to end. Black lives matter. The lives of people of color matter. Indigenous lives and lands matter. And we need to not just say it, but we need to hold our so-called leaders to task. We need to make sure that they not only acknowledge it, but ask on it. Ask on it, act on it. It's raining today, so my brain and body are moving very slowly. Thank you for listening. Let's get back to the game. February 24th, 3:12 p.m. Wright & Co. Law Offices. I'm so sorry, Mr. Wright. Let's see if I can remember all these voices. I'm sorry for what my sister said. Drastic crimes require drastic measures. That's just the way it is. We did what we had to, in order for him to get the verdict he deserved. I didn't know. I never knew that the SL9 incident was just another name for the Joe Dart killings. Sounds like everyone's heard about these killings but me. Lana wanted Dart convicted so badly. That's why she used me. That's why she used what happened to me. What do you mean, what happened to you? It's all there in the file. Joe Dart's last victim was Prosecutor Neil Marshall. When he murdered Officer Marshall's brother, he left behind an incriminating piece of evidence. What did you have to do with those killings, Emma? On the night Prosecutor Neil Marshall was murdered, Joe Dart tried to kill me. What? He tried to kill you? Officer Marshall's brother, Neil, was only trying to save me. So that means you... Yes. I was a witness in the Joe Dart trial. I did not see that one coming. It happened 2 years ago. It was right about this time of year, too. There was a terrible thunderstorm that day, unusual for the season. I was alone in my sister's office. We were planning to eat dinner together once she finished her work. Then suddenly, this terrifying man came bursting into the office. Joe Dart. It seemed like he was running from someone. He pulled out a knife and screamed at me. I didn't know what was going on. Just then, Prosecutor Marshall showed up. Jake Marshall's brother. Joe Dart tried to take me hostage, but before he could, Mr. Marshall tackled him. And then, what happened? I'll never forget it. Lightning struck, and the lights went out. Suddenly, Joe Dart, who killed the parents of the Chill Knight, exactly, in that alley, behind the theater, showing, oh, what's a good joke here?
Batman Begins?
It could be showing Batman Begins, sure. A bolt of lightning flashed outside the window, lighting up the office for an instant. What I saw then burned a permanent picture in my mind. I can still see it now. Permanent picture? What did you see in the instant that crime occurred? Dark knocked down Mr. Marshall and raised his knife. Neil Marshall was stabbed right in front of this poor girl. I don't remember what happened after that. Apparently I passed out. When I came to, Lana was cradling me in her arms. Poor Emma. Been through so much. And to think, you're just a bit part to replace a character who left between games.
I couldn't bring myself to testify about that incident. I tried, but the words just wouldn't come out. I drew a picture, but it wasn't any good.
2 years ago, you must have been 14. That's understandable. No 14-year-old can draw. It's scientifically impossible.
Once it was all over, I made up my mind. I decided that when I grew up, I'd become a scientific investigator. I want to be able to fight crime with my testimonies. And find the evidence to make an airtight case. That way, Lana would never have to forge any.
See. I think I'm finally starting to understand what makes Emma tick. But there's still something that bothers me about that crime.
I don't remember the moment when Dark stabbed Mr. Marshall.
So you weren't able to testify about that?
No, I was only asked about when I was attacked. That must be why she made up the crime.
Made it up? You mean provided bogus evidence?
The prosecutor's office wanted that guilty verdict so badly. Lana forged evidence, and Mr. Edgeworth used it.
Edgeworth?
Yes, but I'm sure he didn't know anything about it. He couldn't have known he was being given false evidence. Even so, that's when it all started. The rumors about Mr. Edgeworth, I mean. It's all my fault. If I could have just testified properly, none of this would have happened.
So it's true. Even though he may not have known it, Edgeworth really was involved in falsifying evidence. No, he was not involved in falsifying the evidence. He was only involved in using the evidence that was falsified. It's different.
After that case ended, Lana was never the same. She became cold like she is today.
She must not have been able to face up to what she did. Especially not to Emma. There's something that's puzzling me, Emma.
What is it?
You said you were in Lana's office at the time, right? Miles may not feel that it's different. That's true. He's very sensitive. You said you were in Lana's office at the time, right?
That's right.
Why then would a serial killer come running in there? Not only that, but he was being chased by a prosecutor?
Oh, there's no mystery there.
I knew it. Neil Marshall was the serial killer and Joe Dark was his next victim.
Joe Dark had been taken in for questioning that day.
Taken in for questioning? You mean by the police? Ah, Colonel!
Of course, this happened at the police department. He tried to run away halfway through the interview and fled into my sister's office.
But why did he run all the way over to your sister's office?
Because the detective offices in the questioning room were right across from the elevator.
Across from the elevator? But Lana was the chief prosecutor, wasn't she?
No, silly, didn't I tell you? 2 years ago, Lana was a detective. She was the best in the whole force.
What? That's news to me!
After the Joe Dark case, she was transferred to the prosecutor's office and made chief prosecutor.
I used to be a detective. Better have another talk with her. Well, head to the detention center and see what she has to say. February 24, detention center, visitor's room.
Lana?
Because being a detective definitely qualifies you to be a prosecutor. You know it. Just ask Dick Gumshoe. Mr. Wright, it seems I keep causing you trouble. Falsifying evidence? I didn't think you were the type.
Criminals don't mind playing foul. Why should we? But Lana, if you're wrong, an innocent person might be found guilty. Believe me, I understand the risks.
Lana, Emma told me about you.
Oh?
About how you were a detective 2 years ago. And how the SL9 incident was the reason for your transfer to the prosecutor's office. That's right. Could you fill me in on the details, especially about the unusual change of jobs? The sneeze really makes the awkward pause, I think. It's all good. I suppose you have a right to know, Mr. Wright. A lot of revelations were uncovered at the trial today, not the least of which was the fact that this case is largely connected to another one 2 years ago. Evidence from the case was stolen as well, though I expected as much. I know how obsessive Officer Marshall can be.
That trial, it really wasn't fair, was it? I believed in you, Lana. I believed that no matter what happened, you'd always stick to the truth.
It couldn't be helped, Emma. Hey, Rez. At the trial 2 years ago, I sold my soul. Well, all drama aside, the fact of the matter is at 5:15 there was no murder at the police department.
Tell me it's not true, Lana. What Miss Starr said. About stabbing Mr. Goodman with a knife. Lana, I don't understand. Why won't you tell us?
Emma, this doesn't involve just me. I don't think I've ever seen Lana look so phased before. This is a whole new animation frame. It's true, I was a member of the police force 2 years ago.
He was amazing.
They still talk about all the cases she and
Chief Gant cracked together.
Chief Gant? He was the deputy chief of police back then, but he still worked the crime scenes. Damon Gant. He was everything I aspired to be. Large, menacing, the literal devil.
They were the best team ever. They solved crimes before the reports could even be filed, which is actually probably illegal.
Or really idolizes her big sister. But now you're chief prosecutor. What happened? I always planned on becoming a prosecutor. The reason I became a detective was
to gain experience investigating crime scenes so I could use that experience in court, right?
Gant's help in the SL9 case was crucial to its resolution. After that, he became chief of police and arranged my transfer to the prosecutor's office. Maybe I should ask more about this investigation of theirs 2 years ago. 2 years ago, I was second in command of the detectives investigating Dark. Second in command? Means the investigation lead was Damon Gant, right? Yes. Deputy Chief Gant and I shared the same office and the same investigations. Even had the same office! We led a team of the best detectives on the force. Detective Goodman, whose case it was, Jake Marshall, and Angel Starr. It was the first time Marshall worked with his brother. He was quite a gung-ho. And a little bit more of the good, the bad, and the ugly, but you know. Without a doubt, Joe Dark was the serial killer. We asked him to come in for questioning. We were desperate for evidence. That was when his final murder took place. When he tried to murder Emma.
Prosecutor Marshall was trying to save me from Dark.
You see, that first person who happened upon the scene of the crime was me. How you tell us? Damon Gant and Neil Marshall were the ones questioning Dark that day. The investigation was in its final stages, and Dark must have suddenly panicked. So he waited until Gant and Marshall let their guards down, then fled the room. From there, he ran straight to the office shared by Deputy Chief Gant and myself.
That's where he found me.
So you were the first person to run the scene, Lana.
It appears so. I was filing some papers while Gant and Marshall were questioning Dark. When I returned to my office, I saw 3 bodies on the floor and smelled blood.
3 bodies?
Prosecutor Marshall,
the victim, Emma, who had passed out,
and the suspect, Joe Dark. During the struggle, it seems Mr. Marshall struck a final blow before he died. Joe Dark had incurred a minor concussion and lay unconscious.
What did you do?
To be honest, I panicked. I picked up Emma, carried her out of the room, and just held her.
I don't blame her. For all her sister must have gone through. That was a weird line read. Can we take that one again? No, we're live? Shit.
After that, I placed Dark under immediate arrest.
To get this straight, you were involved in the SL9 incident.
That's right. Quite a coincidence, hmm?
Don't buy it. Wait. Jason Momoa voice. I don't buy it.
What are you saying?
There's no way everyone involved in this trial was also involved in the incident just by chance.
But that case was solved 2 years ago.
At least one person went to extremes because they didn't believe it was truly solved.
Officer Marshall. Yes, his actions came as a surprise to me as well. Ever since his brother died, he's changed completely. I guess he wasn't convinced with the ruling against Joe Dark. Life doesn't end with the closing of a case. Everyone has to live the rest of their lives with their memories. That case just might not be over yet.
Emma was assaulted by Dark at the police department, right?
Yes, in the office that Damon Gant and I shared. I'm going to say it exactly like that every time it comes up. The office that Mr. Gant now occupies by himself. The Chief's office.
Maybe you should have a look at the Chief's office, the site of the final SL9 murder. February 24, Police Station, Criminal Affairs Department. I don't see Detective Gumshoe anywhere.
Things seem kind of quiet around here today.
You're right. The Chief of Detectives seems the same, though.
Why don't we go look for some other people to talk to?
Right. We can come back here later. February 24, Police Department, entrance. Howdy, Bambina.
Oh, Mr. Marshall.
I never thought things would turn out this way when I woke up this morning. Hey, Sarah, you never know where life will lead ya. Hey, Bambina. I should have known my luck had run out when old Billy dried up this morning.
Old Billy?
Must be his pet cactus. No, it's absolutely his flask. Say, where are you headed? Just over to the prosecutor's office for a little interrogation. It's a voluntary appearance, but we all know I won't be coming back. Sorry, but you can't go on in the evidence room today, partner.
But Mr. Marshall, why'd you do it?
Might have prospectors head west from California. If ever there was a case I needed to know the truth about, it was this one. Before you turn yourself in, Mr. Marshall, would you mind telling us exactly what happened? Huh. Looks like I won't be getting a steak lunch today. Something was fishy about that trial from the beginning. It wasn't just me either. All the detectives thought so. What do you mean fishy? Some of the facts reported were inconsistent with the evidence we found. For example, the murder weapon? Murder weapon? You mean That switchblade knife with the broken tip. That was Joe Dark's all right, but in the initial autopsy report, a question was raised.
A question?
The blade of the knife was not a perfect match with the wound found in the victim sustained. A wound found in the victim sustained. That's exactly what I meant to say. What does that mean? It means there's a good chance that knife was not the murder weapon. However, in the report that was finally submitted, that possibility had been erased. Facts have been concealed with forged evidence. Yes, we already determined that. That case left behind scars on all of us.
The scars that the SL9 incident left behind.
I got the looks, but he got the brains. He was one of the best prosecutors around. I had just made detective when it went down. It was our first case together.
How old was he, your brother?
He was 27 at the time. He was awarded the highest honor that very day. That's true, they both got the hat. Highest honor? You mean the King of Prosecutors? Knew it! What are you looking at me like that for? That's an honor for a prosecutor. Mr. Marshall must have really been close with his brother.
The day the SL9 incident took place, that wasn't the same day as...
That's right. It was the day of the evidence transferal. Interesting. I've just realized Phoenix Wright is a sports anime. Yeah, kinda. Yeah, I actually see what you're saying. There's significantly less, like, ball hitting, though. It was drizzling that morning, and by nightfall there was thunder. I can't believe 2 years have gone by already. I tried to steal the evidence so the case wouldn't die. Apparently someone tried to stop you. Detective Goodman was murdered and the evidence locker was empty. It's very much a... Like the way I described it a while back was, if Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a shonen anime where they take out the animations for the fighting, and Phoenix Wright is where they even take out the descriptors. There was something going on behind the scenes in that case. We all knew that later. Every detective involved in that investigation, save one, was taken care of. Ms. Starr was fired. I was demoted and boxed away in a tiny room. What about Detective Goodman? If they did something to him too, the commissioners would get suspicious. They were careful enough not to be too obvious. Eh?
What are you talking about?
Don't get upset, Bambina. I mean Damon Gant and Lana Skye. Oh, I thought you were talking about, the monsters from that bad Wes Craven movie. The investigation led Damon Gant and his second-in-command. The investigation lead, okay, that makes more sense. The investigation lead, Damon Gant, and his second-in-command, Lana Skye. There wasn't a person on the force who hadn't heard of that duo. That case was the biggest step in both of their careers. After the case ended, Lana transferred... After the case ended, Lana transferred to the prosecutor's office, right? Yeah. Damon Gant, the new chief of police, arranged for that to happen. She'd never been the same since she left. Everyone who knew her said so. Chief Prosecutor Skye was totally different when she was a detective. For one thing, her name was Detective Skye, which is way cooler. Now that he mentions it, Emma said something like that too.
Tell me what happened to my sister.
Was They a John Carpenter movie? I thought it was Wes Craven. Sorry, Bambina, but her secret is too well guarded. I never found out. It always seems too cheesy looking back on it for it to be John Carpenter. On a secret. It all started 2 years ago. They is Wes Craven, okay. No, not They Live.
Yeah, I know.
I'm talking to Bad Road. You'd never heard of They. There's a reason for that. I don't think the man is terribly proud of it. It's one of his worst. So there you have it. That's my story. Did you enjoy it, partner? It was certainly enlightening. There's one thing for sure I found out in court today. That boy Edgeworth isn't my enemy. He was the one who used falsified evidence to get a guilty verdict. But someone else was the one who gave him the evidence and planned everything. Oh, he was only the executive producer on it. Well, who directed it and wrote it? Because it was shit.
Robert Harmon and Wright.
Robert Harmon. Is that who I think it is? Let me look that up real quick. Yeah, he's the guy who did The Hitcher. Yeah, that adds up. But someone else was the one who gave him that evidence and planned everything. That someone is Damon Gant. Don't believe me? Well, I don't blame ya. Won't even be a patrolman after today. I'll be like a patrolman. Because I'll be lower than a patrolman. Low. Too bad I won't be around to work with ya. You become a real scientific investigator. Adios, Bambina. Maybe I can be like the dark, broody sidekick who you go to at the midway point of every episode and ask for advice. Just leaves in silence. That's effective. I totally just ruined it. I thought you were saying Miles Edgeworth was the executive producer of the Joe Dark trial. Yes. Yes. February 24, prosecutor's office, underground parking lot. No one's here today, not even Ms. Starr.
Everyone's probably busy looking into what exactly went down in the evidence room. That must be where the detectives are.
But we proved in court today that on the day of the crime, no one was murdered in the evidence room at 5:15 p.m.
Yeah, I thought we were finally making some headway on our case.
But instead, it looks like we just ended up making Lana look even more guilty.
Hang in there, Lana.
I've got to find all the answers by tomorrow. February 24, High Prosecutor's Office, room 1202.
Mr. Edgeworth isn't here.
Maybe he's being questioned by an inquiry committee. Took a real beating in court today.
Yeah, with Lana admitting to falsifying evidence 2 years ago?
I guess we'll just have to come back later. Or we get to the chief's office. There we go. February 24, police station. This place is always pretty empty, but today it's deserted.
It must mean everyone's busy solving crimes.
Oh, if you're looking for the others, they're all in the conference room. This is my voice now. Thanks. Wow, he actually talked to us. With the chief prosecutor saying what she did, and the decision about what to do about Mr. Edgeworth, not to mention our statement to the media and tomorrow's trial. There's more chaos going on than Thanksgiving and Christmas put together. I think festive is the word usually used for those.
Sir? We'd like to have a look at Chief Gant's office.
Just use the connecting hallway to the other building and take the elevator to the top floor.
Really? You mean it's okay for us to go in there? I mean, we aren't police officers or anything.
Hey, you're right. You can't go in there. It's off limits. Now I see where Detective Gumshoe gets his unique charm.
What are we waiting for? Let's head to the chief's office.
February 24, Police Department, Chief's Office. Oh, where am I?
In the chief's office, silly. At least, that's what it said on the door.
His entire office is a fucking pipe organ. Check out that pipe organ. That's real, isn't it?
Hey, I used to take organ lessons in kindergarten. They used to call me Little Miss Bach. I thought I was a genius till they tried teaching me notes.
Because he's the devil.
I never could remember where C was.
Oh, it's you two! You can't! He put that paper he was reading in his desk. So, Righto, have you been swimming lately? No, I haven't. I've been kind of busy lately. I can appreciate that. I've had my hands full, too, with Mr. Marshall's misconduct and Lana's provocative statements. Provocative statements? Oh, you mean the forged evidence? 2 years have passed since that incident. My, how time flies! I sure do love forged evidence. See that big picture on the wall over there? That's a picture of Lana, Neil, and me. So this is Mr. Marshall's brother, Prosecutor Neil Marshall. We took it to commemorate our work together. So even though we knew what Marshall looked like, what Neil looks like, Phoenix didn't this whole time. We took it to commemorate our work together. Something is not right with this picture. I can't quite seem to put my finger on it, though. Couldn't possibly be that vase. Photo at the award ceremony of Gant, Lana, and Neil. The trophy is broken in the picture, yes. Anyway, I'd like to reminisce all day, but there's matters that need my attention. I'm gonna lock up here, so let's go out together.
Oh, but this office, it was a crime scene 2 years ago, wasn't it?
That case has long since been over. There's no need to investigate it anymore. All the same, we'd like to have a look around. Perhaps you didn't hear me. I said, there's no need to investigate it. No, hurry up and get out! I have a meeting to attend!
Looks like we aren't welcome.
Seems the case isn't over with yet after all.
What do you mean?
Chief Gant denied our request to search the crime scene. Means there must be a reason he doesn't want us looking around in there.
You mean like a clue?
Gotta be a way we can get inside the chief's office. February 24, etc., etc. Hey, pal! Detective Gumshoe, aren't you supposed to be in a meeting? Oh, yeah, just taking a breather. My feet hurt.
From sitting so long?
Actually, from serving everyone coffee. Sounds like Detective Gumshoe's still out of the loop. Say, have either of you seen Mr. Edgeworth? Edgeworth? No, why do you ask? He's under fire from both the police department and the prosecutor's office. It's almost like the battles between you two in court. That sounds serious.
Is it because of what my sister said?
That's basically what it all boils down to. That falsified evidence 2 years ago. Now Mr. Edgeworth has the whole world after his blood.
Yikes.
But why would Edgeworth be blamed? It's not like he knew the evidence was forged. Lana Skye's the guilty party here, isn't she? Regardless, if prosecutor's responsible for the evidence they present in court. Not only that, but as you know, there have been a lot of rumors going around about Mr. Edgeworth. His amazing talent as a prosecutor has kept him safe from those who don't like him. But now with this...
Are there really so many people who hate him?
In our world, there's only those with talent, like Cream, rise to the top. Mr. Edgeworth not only has that, but he's also young. There's no better recipe I know of for making enemies. Hey, Dick, keep up the good work. Yes, sir. Let's go out for lunch again sometime. My treat. Yes, sir. You gotta take me back to that joint sometime, okay, Dick? Yes, sir! It seems you don't have any problems with enemies. Oh, well, I'm careful not to stick out. Anyway, I'm a bit worried about him. Under all this pressure, I'm afraid Mr. Edgeworth just might crack. Actually, I took a look at the file earlier while the coffee was brewing. He seems genuinely concerned for Edgeworth. Well, did you find anything? The only evidence Doc left behind was during his final attack. His final attack? You mean the Kamehameha wave? When he killed Prosecutor Marshall, who was trying to protect some girl. The police triplets. Jeff Police, Rob Police, and... Sting the Police.
Me.
No, Robert Kopp is just his stage name. Seems Detective Gumshoe never realized Emma was the girl. That's when he left the most incriminating evidence of all.
Well, what was it?
Let's see. I think it had something to do with the murder weapon. Oh, I forgot. Look, it's all written somewhere in here, okay? His powers of recollection never fail to impress.
Maybe we should show him the murder weapon. It might jog his memory.
Yeah, let's just whip out a knife in the middle of the police station. You have to enter that menu in a specific way. Oh, odd. Thank you, Bad Road. About this. Hey! Is that... It has a tag attached to it with the label SL9 incident. I believe this would be the broken murder weapon you were speaking of. What are you doing with that? Ever since that case was closed, that knife's been locked away in a locker.
On the day Detective Goodman was murdered, this suddenly disappeared from his locker and was found in Mr. Edgeworth's car muffler.
That's it! Now I remember what that incriminating piece of evidence was! When you showed me that knife, it all came back to me.
Well, what is it, Detective? Quick, before you forget again.
This knife, it was Joe Dark's, wasn't it? That's right! We traced it back to the store he bought it at, plus it had his fingerprints on it too.
But no one actually witnessed him using it to murder anyone, right?
Yeah, that's where his luck ran out. When you take a good look at the knife, you'll see it's broken.
You don't have to take a good look at it to notice that.
Yeah, well anyway! Take a guess where the broken off tip of the knife was found. That's what did him in.
Where was it?
The victim, Neil Marshall, was carrying it. Inside his own body. Not in like the stab wound or anything, it was just kind of stuffed up his nose. It's real weird. It was found deep inside the stab wound. Did it match Dark's knife? You bet! Down to the last fiber.
That's pretty conclusive.
Gumshoe, what's in your hand? A knife! No! Joe Dark was 42 at the time of the crime. He was just your run-of-the-mill businessman. A businessman? Made him take to serial killing. Also, Joe Dark is also another name for the devil, so you know. What was it, Joe Black, the movie? Meet Joe Black? I remember that being entertaining, but I haven't seen it in a long time. One day on his way home from work, he hit someone with his car.
With his car? So it was an accident?
An accident, yes, but it transformed him into an animal. That's what happens. That's what happened to Manimal. That's what happened to Beast Boy. And it could happen to you.
An animal.
He killed a man that witnessed the accident. A kid walked by and then he killed him too. And then when he was burying the body, a jogger came upon the scene and he killed him as well. Finally, he turned himself in. I don't know why it auto-scrolled that. There was no reason for that. Gaston, are you coming up or what? Come on. You can do it. You can do it. Oh, stretch. Stretch. Alright, climb up. Come on, you can do it. Look, you even got a big old pillow to lay on if you want. Joe Black was the Grim Reaper, not the devil. You were the Grim Reaper, not the devil. And Joe Young was a giant ape, and Joe Jackson was a disgrace. And then he lost his hat. Seems he was a pretty careless animal. Of course, this is all conjecture. There wasn't a single shred of evidence. So he turned himself in. Yeah, but in the middle of his questioning, he fled and murdered his final victim, Prosecutor Marshall. That crime was witnessed by someone too, but luckily Dark was arrested on the spot. Also, his head was an onion. How about that? It's a good thing that last witness wasn't killed, huh? That last witness, aka Emma. Well, there you got it in a nutshell. That's all I know. Can I ask you one more thing? What is it? If it's money you need, you should ask Chief Gans. Wow, that's a hell of a callback. It's not money, but it does concern the chief. His office is a crime scene, right? It's where Prosecutor Neil Marshall was murdered.
The chief's out now and his office is locked, but we'd like to have a look around if that's okay.
Any detective's ID card can unlock the door.
What? Really?
But if I let a civilian in there, I'd be charged with breach of trust.
Breach of trust?
Simply put, I'd be canned. Oh. Sorry, pal. I don't plan on getting fired because of you.
How about this ID card? It was Detective Goodman's.
That won't work either. The data was deleted the day he died.
Oh.
So in other words, Gumshoe's our only chance of getting into that office.
I wonder if there's something we could show him that'd change his mind.
Look at this photograph! Let me share a little advice with you as a detective. If you don't got a clue, keep your trap shut. Keep that in mind! Jeez! Well, this jar, I think I've seen it before somewhere. Somewhere? Maybe it's one of those memories people have from previous lives. This must be the most uninformative detective I have ever met. Something about it makes me feel uneasy. It's like I'm in the chief's office and he's yelling at me. Chief Gans. How could I have seen that before? Alright, so what can we show him to get him to let us in? I am legitimately clueless because I've forgotten half of this shit. Was allegedly dancing in the evidence room. Hey, that's it! That's the King of Prosecutors Award that Mr. Edgeworth got the other day. Were you at the award ceremony, Detective Gumshoe? Of course, pal! I got an award for diligence myself. Ah, congratulations.
I was wondering, why is the award a shield? And why is it broken?
Oh, there's a reason. So, in that photo, it's got another piece to it. It's got a sword, but it's still missing a chunk of the shield. Oh, there's a reason. I'll tell you what it is later. Apparently he's forgotten. Detective, here's my attorney's badge. You show this to me every time we meet, pal. Real men show the police badge. No said.
I wish I had a badge. Even an ID card would be nice.
Anyone have any idea what we should show him? What's something he wouldn't have seen yet? I guess I can just try items one by one. I've been studying up on those files. There's nothing wrong with Mr. Edgeworth's presentation. To think people are accusing him of injustice. I, for one, ain't buying it, pal.
You're looking into the case for Mr. Edgeworth?
That was a pretty big deal while it was going on, you know? After all, a serial killer was on the loose. But Lana was pretty clear in her confession. She forged evidence in order to prove Joe Dart guilty. If all of his killings came within the space of like an hour, like was described, I don't think that counts as a serial killer, like by definition. Let me share a little. Oh, same thing. Alright, we're just gonna go through the items one by one. I can't believe Officer Marshall would do something like that.
You know Officer Marshall?
Of course I do. He was like a mentor to me. When I first started out, he even gave me a little cactus.
Really?
He said, Dick shall listen to all your troubles. Now, to self-detect, I believe he's just a patrolman now. Someone ought to trade places with him. Hard to believe. Well, why are you looking at me like that? No locker can be opened without a fingerprint match. Besides, there's no reason for the murderer to touch his own locker.
Wasn't your locker the one with the blood on it, Detective?
The handprint of the real murderer's gloved hand, without any fingerprints. Shh! If they come to arrest me, you'll defend me, won't you? Yeah, if that happens, I think you'll do better pleading with Edgeworth. I think it's the first three were a mass murder and the last one turned it into a spree. I think you're right. Ah, lost item report, huh?
Very impressive, Detective. You knew what it was right off the bat.
Well, I am a master of misplacement, you know.
Master, that's got such a cool ring to it.
Hey there, Ava and Ava's viewers. The way I see it, if things are meant to be lost, then they're meant to be lost. There's a higher power at work here.
Wow, a higher power.
I shouldn't let Emma hold any evidence. Right now, I'm just going through items one by one because I have no idea what I'm supposed to be showing him. That pad is used for detecting fingerprints.
Yeah, Mr. Edgeworth gave it to us.
He did what? All I have is some flour. Are you okay, Detective? Quick, run! Achoo! If it's any help, one time I took a nap on a bench with wet paint. Why am I not comforted? Ugh! That's the ID card record, isn't it? Yeah, there's only one number left to investigate. At 4:20 p.m. Blaze it! The victim, Detective Goodman, must have entered the evidence room along with someone else. Aha! This is what we needed. Someone with an executive officer number. 777777777. That's 17 too many, Detective. An executive officer. Huh. Just might have a hunch. Really? That's not what we needed? Maybe now we can... No? Well, what the fuck? I thought for sure that'd do it. Has to be the Badger. How about this? He's dead! Oh, we already showed him this. That's the photo that Miss Star took. Anything you can tell us about it? The Miss Star is quite the lady. Why, I remember it was winter. I was 16. She was the only one who ever got me to talk about what happened.
16? That's how old I am now. I wonder what happened.
Detective Gumshoe wore a trench coat in high school, too. Jesus Christ, Phoenix. And the answer is obviously yes. This guy almost made us lose the case today. What are you talking about? Who's guarding the bloodstain on the evidence locker with his life? That's more than you can say about most officers nowadays.
It would have saved us a lot of trouble if he hadn't guarded it so well.
I have to admit he's right, though. As to the Blue Badger, we were able to prove another possibility today. The possibility that another murder took place prior to 5:15. Found in Mr. Edgeworth's car, stabbed with Mr. Edgeworth's knife. What would drive Chief Prosecutor Sky to do such a thing? Oh wait, of course someone else really did it. Someone who must have a grudge against Mr. Edgeworth. What? I thought I just showed... Oh right, the ticket and the knife are the same stuff. This ID card belongs to the victim, Detective Bruce Goodman. You know just about anything these days with a card and a secret number. Scary. It's only scary because you keep dropping your card, Detective Gumshoe. I forgot my secret number a lot, too. I'm scared of myself. But I'm me, after all, and what could be wrong with that? I think I'll stay out of this conversation. So none of those actually opened up. I'm confused. Do we gotta get another different piece of evidence? Ah, here we are. February 24, High Prosecutor's Office, room 1202. Hey there, Feltry. Wonder if Edgeworth's back yet.
There he is. Looks like he's writing something.
What? What are you doing here? Ah, he sure was quick to throw that paper on the floor. Tough day in court, huh? I've had to live the past 2 years with the rumors flying around. What's another allegation to me?
Cheer up, Mr. Edgeworth. I'm rooting for you.
That's Edgeworth for you. Always trying to hide his real feelings. So what do you want? Unlike some people, I don't have all day. There's no excuse for what I've done. 2 years ago, I used false evidence to obtain a guilty verdict. That's what it all breaks down to, and nothing I do can erase that fact. But you didn't know, did you? I mean, that the evidence was falsified. The police department and the prosecutor's office share a bond of trust. If that bond is broken, we stand to lose everything. The police department's error is my error. My responsibility as the prosecutor in charge. I am not immediately going to start on Phoenix Wright 2. I decided that during this month-long hiatus that we've had to take. Because I just was not... There was such a delay on getting to do the ending of this. It became kind of a frustration, so I'm going to put it off for a bit. The fact remains that the fact remains the same, no matter what excuses I might have.
Mr. Edgeworth.
I take pride in my work. So tell me why. Why has it all come down to this? Even Edgeworth can't keep this kind of emotion bottled up. Are you up for the trial tomorrow? Oh. First last year's trial, and now this one. Seems all you do is worry about me. To be honest, you're getting on my nerves.
But Mr. Edgeworth, you can't just walk out on the trial.
Tomorrow's the last day. It's too late to change prosecutors. I'll bet that's what my superiors are banking. I never thought that case would come back to haunt me like this. What do you mean? The list of evidence, it seems too short. Most lists run twice as long. Only half as long as most lists. That is odd. After Neil Marshall was murdered, I became prosecutor for the case. I may not have been part of the investigation, but I knew what I had to do. Use the evidence I was given to prove the suspect guilty. That was really the only thing on my mind at the time.
Say, we just saw a picture taken around that time.
Picture? Something seemed strange about it. Can you tell us again about what happened that day? The day Detective Goodman was murdered? You were participating in a ceremony at the station, right? I've never cared for ceremonies, but I had to attend that one.
Because you were awarded this?
Those receiving awards can't exactly skip out on the ceremony. I finished it up at the office in the morning, then drove over to the police department. You finished up at the office? Yes. Just odds and ends, clerical stuff. I didn't plan on returning to the office that day. That is, until I was asked to take something back.
Take something back?
This.
Oh yeah, Chief Gant asked you to hold on to that, didn't he?
Yes. There's a piece of evidence in a case that was closed half a year ago. He asked me to bring him back to the prosecutor's office. It's a story we heard yesterday. So you came back here to the prosecutor's office because the chief asked you to. That's right. This picture was hanging on the wall in Chief Gant's office. Prosecutor Neil Marshall. He had just started making a name for himself. Looks like this was when he received the King of Prosecutors trophy.
Speaking of that, there's something that bothers me.
Yes?
The trophy Mr. Marshall is holding? It's different than yours.
Yes, you're right. Ah, I remember. Remember what? That was what the official prosecutor's trophy looked like until 2 years ago. There's a story behind its design.
A story?
Sounds interesting. Would you mind telling it to us? It's simple, really. Contradiction. That's what the award's based on. This award originates from an ancient Chinese tale. In Chinese, the word contradiction is written with 2 characters. The first means halberd, and the second means shield. Have you heard this story? Me? Oh, sure. Everyone knows that. Why don't you tell it, though, for Emma's sake? Very well. I think Nick might be lying. Long ago in the kingdom of Chu, there was an arms merchant. One day, he presented the king with 2 items. The first was a halberd he claimed would slice through any shield or armor. The second was a shield he claimed could withstand any weapon. Ah, a minute. Those claims contradict each other! Very perceptive. But then again, you've heard this story before, right? Anyway, as you mentioned, the very descriptions of these items discredit them both. When the king pointed this out, the merchant was left speechless. And thus the Chinese word for contradiction was born.
Oh, I see. So the chipped shield and broken knife symbolize.
Precisely so. They symbolize the merchant's items. The ancient tale ends with the merchant at a loss for words, but it's in our nature to pursue matters to their conclusion. even if it results in something as ugly as this.
Wow, thanks, Mr. Edgeworth.
That's funny. If that's so, why were you only given a shield? You'll have to ask Chief Gant. 2 years ago, he had the halberd part of the award abolished. Chief Gant. And that must be what we have to show to Gumshoe. Prosecutor's office underground parking lot. Excuse me. Would either of you care for a quarter pound of roast beef? Miss Starr, I guess she's out of lunches. You certainly are the curious sort, aren't you? Kind of like the first person who sucked a cow's nipple to discover milk. Still, I never thought you'd go digging up that case from 2 years ago. Well, Feltry, that's the idea, is the, Chief Gant's idea of what prosecution is different from the people who put together the trophy. The original version of the trophy was put together by people who truly wanted to find the truth. Chief Gant just wants to break through the opposition's defense to find them guilty. Everyone in this trial was involved in the SL9 incident. Not only that, but the murder occurred on the very day the evidence from that case was due for transferal. This can't all be attributed to mere coincidence. Aren't you forgetting something? You know, that little scene I happened to witness? The instant Lana stabbed Detective Goodman with a knife. No matter how much of the past you dig up, it won't change what I saw. Roast beef is meant to be savored when eaten. Star's hatred towards Lana all dates back to 2 years ago. Never put it together that Gant was doing that because he disagreed about the point of things. Ah, well, now you've learned something new. That's why sometimes it's fun to watch things that you've already seen before. You get new perspectives. Joe Dark. That's a name I'll not soon forget. We trailed him for half a year. Oh, the pressure. Still, I don't think I was ever more alive than I was then. Those days were steamier than a bowl of hot gravy. Hot, steamy gravy. Poor old Jake Marshall, though. Must have been going through hell. You mean because of his brother's death? They were close, those two. After Neil died, something took over Jake. He became obsessed. Seeing Jake like that made her all the more desperate. Her? Lana Skye. My sister. The best of the best were put on the SL9 case. Of course they were led by the legendary duo. Lana and Chief Gant. You know, I'd be less, like, put off by Lana trying to be horny about food, if not for the fact that most of her food is meat. I can't be horny for meat. It just can't happen. That legendary pair was the reason we were able to keep up our investigation. That's why we were so shocked about how it turned out. You mean with the forging of evidence? Don't get me wrong, Joe Dark got what he deserved. Still, it was obvious the evidence produced in court was being manipulated. Thank you, Bad Road. Items our team never found would suddenly appear while other items were kept secret. But you don't have proof anything illegal was done. I'm proof enough of what happened. After that case, all of us save Goodman were relieved of our duties.
Most without even so much as an explanation. Then Lana Skye transferred to the prosecutor's office and became chief prosecutor. Lana always wanted to be a prosecutor. Nothing's quite as simple as it appears. Huh? Lana Skye was merely being used as a pawn. That's my take on the matter. She was being used. Damon Gant and Lana Skye. Gant led the investigation with Lana second in command. They were the best. They solved all kinds of cases together, didn't they? Damon Gant's magnetism in particular was almost unreal. His magnetism? By that I mean his ability to attract evidence. He produced the most incredible evidence in the cases he handled. Incredible evidence? You mean... Oh yes, there were rumors about him even back then. No one dared confront him. Take it she's talking about forged evidence. Back then, everyone looked up to Lana. All the detectives wanted to be like her. Oh, yes, myself included. I was a fool, really. She hated anything crooked and always watched out for the other detectives. That's why she was so concerned for Jake. Mr. Marshall. When Jake's brother was murdered, she felt as if she had lost her own brother. If it wasn't for her, I don't think Jake would ever have recovered from his shock. That's what makes it all the more infuriating. Miss Starr. That's why I'll never be able to forgive her. Why did she have to turn so cold after that? Hey, Andy! Lana transferred to the prosecutor's office 2 years ago, didn't she? Yes, thanks to Chief Gant's powerful influence. Chief. That's right. Having solved the SL9 case, his position as chief was secured. There was only one thing left for him to control, and then no one could stand in his way. The prosecutor's office. What? You mean, that's why Lana was transferred? If he could control the chief prosecutor, he could control the prosecutor's office. That must have been his goal all along. But how could he control Lana? I don't know, but one thing's for sure. Ever since that case ended, she's never been the same. It's only logical to conclude. There must have been a reason for her change. Last! I'm finally getting close to the bottom of this ugly mess. Thank you, Miss Starr. You listen to me, rookie. It takes more than just ingredients to create fine cuisine. I hope you turn out to be a better chef than I've been. Okay, so all we have left to do now is... February 24, Police Station, Criminal Affairs Department. Oh, you're back! You're still here? Yeah, I gotta make 150 copies of those files. Brewing coffee, copying files. I'm turning into a regular DJ. You're a DJ as well? If I'm not mistaken, I think he means desk jockey. Oh, that DJ. I gotta admire your persistency, but my answer's still no. I'm not letting you into the chief's office, period. I gotta be my neck on the line. The office is the last crime scene in the SL9 incident. I have to take a look in there. There's gotta be something we can do to make the detective change his mind.
No, same thing. Oh, Chinese parable. Yeah, I know that. There was this, dragon. Yeah, that's it, a dragon. He had a thing for shields, see? That's not exactly the version we heard.
No, but this one sounds way more exciting.
Anyway, it gets kind of gory after that, so I'll spare you the details. So not what we needed, but new dialogue. I don't think anything else changed, did it? Which means we have not found the thing that we need. So let's just go to the different rooms until it tells us that there's something new to find. It really helps. The first 4 chapters, the original game, really help guide you along with the dialogue, but this one seems to miss the mark a lot. And I kind of want to know if that's in the original writing or if it's the localization.
Miss Star, the only thing I can give you now is a poppy seed rice set.
Talk about cheap.
Eat this and maybe you'll be able to tell black from white in court tomorrow.
Alright, so she's saying that she's not going to find anything. We're not going to get anything by talking to her. It wouldn't hurt if you put this up somewhere, like, on a shelf. That has no meaning for me anymore. What do you mean anymore? That's who I was last year. What good is it to dwell on the past? He's asking me?
Why can't he just accept it graciously? Actually, something's been troubling me about this shield. Look, you notice anything different?
Different?
Yeah, don't you remember? The other shield in the court record?
I guess I'd better present this other shield. I've already done that, though. I got no clue. Let's just look this up. How do I get into Gant's office? Refusing to present. Okay, that's different. We don't have that item. Oh, wow, that's ludicrous. That's ludicrous because you're supposed to examine this ball of paper, which you can't fucking see because Edgeworth is in the way. I wonder what he was writing before.
Come on, Mr. Wright. Let's take a look.
Are you crazy? Edgeworth is sitting right there.
Just distract him. I'll check it out.
Hey, Edgeworth! Is that Detective Gumshoe out the window there? Oh no! He is falling to the ground! Hold on. First, let me see what this girl's doing crawling around my feet. He didn't even look!
What? Letter of...
If you're having trouble reading, I'll read it for you. It says letter of resignation. Resignation? Edgeworth, you don't mean... I'm tired, right? I feel as if something inside me's died.
But Mr. Edgeworth, none of it is your fault.
I know the path I've walked. You don't need to tell me. And the path I've walked hasn't been a just one. I can't forgive myself for what I've done, and no one else should forgive me either. Uh-oh. I think he's serious.
Mr. Wright, please, you have to do something.
It's a letter of resignation. I wonder if I can use it to leverage anyone. I know someone who's easily swayed. What's this crumpled up piece of paper? No way! Mr. Edgeworth can't be serious! Is he ever not serious? I can't believe they pushed him this far!
Mr. Edgeworth really feels responsible.
When I first met him, I thought he was cold as ice too. But I know different now. Ever since we snuggled that one time, he trusted us detectives to provide him with sound evidence. But we betrayed him.
Detective.
That's it. I made up my mind.
But
here, take my ID card. We can't do that. If someone found out,
they wouldn't let you off the hook with another lost item report.
Look at me. It's no secret I'm already out of the loop. After all, I'm friends with Mr. Edgeworth. Depending on how this case turns out, I may already be good as terminated. What? So at least let me do this for Mr. Edgeworth's sake. All right, detective. Thank you. February 24, Police Department, Chief's Office.
Here goes, Mr. Wright. We're in. If anyone finds us now,
Detective Gumshoe's a goner. Hey, if that happens, I'm counting on you to bail me out.
Sorry, I thought you were a ghost.
I didn't even know you could slap a ghost. Ah, Detective Gumshoe. What are you doing sneaking up on us like that? I wasn't sneaking. I was just worried something might go wrong. So I came too. If you're here, then what's the point in giving us your ID card? Gumshoe's ID card crushed and rendered unusable in pocket. Hey, don't do that to my card! I hardly ever get a chance to come in here, so I figured I'd have a look around myself. Besides, we're all in this together now.
You really want to get fired, don't you?
Not if we're lucky. Now come on. Let's see what we can find out. I've got a bad feeling about this. That desk on the other side of the room. Is that your sister's?
Yeah. That's where I was waiting for Lana. On that day 2 years ago.
Is anyone using it now? No, sir. This is entirely Chief Gant's office now. He practices a strict policy of preserving the crime scene. That is a strange reason to leave it there. He leaves it as a warning to everyone else. He wants us to always be alert. Told us so himself at our New Year's party. Of course, he was pretty intoxicated at the time. See.
So ever since Lana left, no one ever touches that desk?
No one except Chief Gant and the cleaning lady who's in here every morning. Still, 2 years have passed since that incident. Can't possibly be any clues remaining. Can I ask you something? Sure. You only came here to look around, right? Because it's one of the SL9 crime scenes. I mean, that's your only reason for coming here, isn't it? Why do you ask? Nah. You wouldn't be... Nah. Guys, no, never mind. Don't worry about it. Okay. Now let's look around a bit more. Hey, hold on! Not so fast, buddy! Huh? What is it? When someone tells you don't worry about it, someone's supposed to stop bothering you, pal! You don't just let it go at that. Sorry. This guy's starting to get on my nerves. Okay, so what's bothering you then? You two don't think Chief Gant might be a suspect, do you?
What? He's right, Mr. Wright. What do we think of him?
Chief Gant. So it's finally come to this. I think of him. Perhaps it's best if I don't divulge my feelings yet. There you go, ignoring me again.
Wow, look at the size of Chief Gant's desk.
Speaking of that, when we were here earlier... Oh, it's you two! Chief Gant! He put a paper he was reading in his desk. Wonder what he was reading. This looks like a list of evidence. List of evidence? In most cases, the list runs twice as long as this, though.
Hey, look at the case name.
Huh. SL9 incident. I don't know what this is doing here. Hold on, detective. What did you just say? I said, I wonder what... No! About the evidence list. Normally, they're twice as long. Oh, that's right. I guess there wasn't a lot of evidence. Outsized list of evidence. The list of evidence. It seems too short. Most lists run twice as long. What would the other half of the list be doing here?
Knew it. The chief must be hiding something about that case.
It would appear so. Evidence list added to the court record. Oh, good. That's the picture. It's the picture that Emma drew. I don't know what this is. Looks like someone drew some kind of sketch here.
What is it? You find something?
Can't make it out. Be quiet about it for now.
Huh?
Oh. No, it's nothing.
Why are your eyes moving around like that, Mr. Wright?
I better not forget about this picture. This is a safe, isn't it? Safe? That word is ripe with intrigue. Okay, if you say so.
It looks like a code needs to be entered in this panel to open it.
Seven-digit number. I think I just might know what it is. You know what it is? I have a hunch. Oh, I know. You want to try my birth date? It's... I have a better idea. Here goes nothing. 7, 7, 7, 7, 7, 7, 7. What the fuck? Bingo!
What number did you enter?
Whose birthday was that, pal? 7777777. The final ID card number on that record. What? The number of the mysterious executive officer who entered the room that day. You mean 777777777? That ID number? I think you're a 7 shy this time. This can only mean one thing. That's Chief Gant's ID number.
Say, anyone care to look inside?
Either that or he's just really bad at putting combinations on safes. Is there any money in there? How much does he have stashed away?
Look, it's a
shot from a broken cup. This somehow looks familiar. I've seen this before.
There's something else in here too.
What's this? It looks like a piece of leather cloth. This is a handprint, isn't it? Hey! I saw someone wearing a shirt like that once. You think the chief made up the design?
I don't think so.
Oh. Oh, just a thought.
Is that it? This is all that was in the safe?
Apparently so. It's empty now. Well, cloth is different from a cloth. So in this case, it could be a leather cloth, as in a cloth made from leather. Otherwise, you'd call it what? Like a slab? A slab of leather? I like that, a leather slab. A piece of cloth with a handprint on it, and a broken shot from a cup. They look like pieces of evidence. Yeah, but unless you can prove they have something to do with this case, I'm afraid I can't just let you take them. After all, it's my neck on the line here. Great, now I have to prove their relevancy to get them.
Are these two items related to the SL9 incident? Come on, there's gotta be something we can show the detective.
Detective Gumshoe, could you have another look at this jar? I remember when the three of us put that one back together. Ah, those were the days. It's kind of early to be nostalgic.
Wasn't this jar a piece of evidence from that case?
Ah, that's right. One of the shards has an SL9 incident sticker on it. Doesn't this ring any bells? You know, that fragment we just found. Hey, you mean this one that was in the safe?
Yeah, that one. It was in the safe.
Now that you mention it, it's ringing a lot of bells. Let's see if it fits. Go ahead, pal. Show us what a rookie can do.
Mr. Wright, here's some glue.
If I can piece this together again, it'll prove Chief Gant was knowingly hiding evidence. Here goes. There we go. It's a weird angle. There, fits like a charm. That, of course, means Chief Gant willingly and knowingly hid a piece of this jar in the safe. In other words, he concealed a piece of evidence from the SL9 incident. But, hey guys, get a load of this! What is it? This piece you just attached, it's different from the others.
There's a reddish line on it.
Reddish line? That's blood! I don't get it! Why would Chief Gant hide this one in the safe? As for the cloth, let's fingerprint it. Detective Gumshoe, I'd like you to have a look at this.
A great I just skipped that by accident. That's a great idea, Detective.
All right, go to town. Sheesh. What are you doing? What are you doing? Why are you sticking out your hand like that? Go ahead, take my fingerprints.
It's not your fingerprints we want to take.
Huh? This isn't the time for jokes. We're talking about the cloth we found in the safe. Oh, haha. Yeah, I knew that. The one with the handprint on it, right? Sheesh, where's your sense of humor? Phoenix Wright saying we don't have time for jokes.
Okay, Mr. Wright, let's check for prints. Sprinkle the powder on the cloth. Then, once they've been absorbed into the prints, blow the rest away.
Are you my mom? I don't have to be told 1,000,000 times. Alright, let's get this over with. What the fuck? Oh, okay. That's a weird way to do it. Give it my best shot.
That kind of result won't be a good for matching prints, will it?
Doesn't look like we'll get a clear result from this print.
Okay, let's try a different finger then.
Yeah, it definitely works better with the touchscreen and the mic. Hey, there we go. Oh, not enough? It's always so hard to tell what portion of it you fucked up. No, not quite.
That doesn't match.
Looks like we're out of clues this time.
Yeah. But what's inside the chief's safe?
Right, along with that shard.
So that means it's gotta have something to do with that incident.
The one that happened right here in this room. She's right. We should check the fingerprints of everyone who was in here that day. The way I see it, there's a higher power at work here. You just gotta have faith. There we are. No. How can this be? What are Emma's fingerprints doing here?
Hey, you found a match? Whose fingerprints are they?
Huh? Oh, well, it seems the prints are too old. They aren't clear enough to get a match.
Oh. That's too bad. I thought they'd be Dark's prints.
Hey, you, over here. What's going on here? What are the kids' prints doing on inside the chief's safe? Don't ask me. Let's just keep this information from Emma for now. Here, maybe you should hold on to this. Well, was there any help? Of course. Thanks to your ID card, we were able to get some hard evidence. Now that's not very kind, is it? In other words, if it wasn't for his ID card, he would have been useless. Isn't that right, you in the coat? Chief Gant! We didn't think you'd be back so soon. Fortunately, I'm a man who believes in science. As I was walking to my meeting, I happened to look out a window and saw a stray dog run right into a pole. Just then, I thought of a certain detective. You mean me, sir? Now then, I'm afraid I'm gonna have to ask you all to leave.
Yes, sir. Sorry.
Oh, you in the coat. Me, sir? Drop off your ID on the way out. You won't be needing it anymore. But, sir! Now get out. Yes, sir. We'll be on our way too, then. Wait! You, the one without the spiky hair? Don't go yet.
Me, sir?
I'd like a word with you.
But, sir, I'm not a licensed scientific investigator yet.
You with the spiky hair, you're free to go.
Mr. Wright?
Look, pal, if I told you once, I told you 1,000 times, the chief office is off limits. But no, you just had to go sneaking in there like that, didn't you? I thought you said you didn't care anymore if you were fired. Yeah, but if I knew it'd be like this, I never would have said it. Oh, now that I've seen the evidence Chief Gant was hiding in his office, I think I'm finally starting to get the picture. But why has she kept eerily silent about it this whole time? Because she's being fucking blackballed. Blackmailed? One of those. Not that one. What's the fucking word? Coerced? Blacklighted. Anyway, you listening to me? I'm gonna try to smooth things over with the chief again. Later, pal. After that, I heard from Emma. She said the police wanted to ask her some questions, so she'll be busy for the rest of the day. I see, so the chief asked Emma to come in for questioning. It's no use thinking about it. Tomorrow's the final day in court. I'm committed to doing everything I can to defend you, which is why I'm here. But I've already told you all I can. What you've told me over these past couple of days is absolutely nothing. Not a single goddamn useful thing. Really, I believe I did mention something quite important. Something I told you right at the beginning. I said that I was the one who stabbed Detective Goodman. You know, I think I finally figured it out. I know who it is that's lurking behind your words. Nia did a good job mentoring you. I'm rather jealous. It seems Edgeworth was right. Edgeworth. Once you're convinced you know something, no one can persuade you otherwise. Thick-headed is the term he used, I believe. Now's my chance to get her to tell me the rest of the story. I have to admit, I was more than a little perplexed at first. You insisted you did it, yet there was no incriminating evidence. That's when it hit me. It's not that you're unwilling to tell the truth. It's that you're incapable of doing so because of a certain individual. What an intriguing notion. A certain individual, you say. So you think I'm protecting this person? Protecting? No, I think afraid of is more like it. If I'm not mistaken, the person in question may have persuaded you to silence. For argument's sake, Mr. Wright, whom, may I ask, is this person you're speaking of? The one I'm supposedly so frightened of? What's this person's name? Mike Meekins! The person whom you fear is this. To be honest, there's someone a bit scarier. Who would that be? Why, you, of course. Me? Yes. You seriously believe what you're saying, don't you? Now that's scary. You seem to have the makings of a criminal in you. What with your fallacious accusations? Care to spend tonight in the cell next to mine? If you ask me, you're the scary one. Well, Miss Skye? Mr. Wright, you're addressing the chief prosecutor. Do not forget your place. Take it she's still not ready to spill the beans. My apologies. Could you please tell me a bit more about what you think you know? We were partners until 2 years ago. I respected him as a detective. Assuming he's respectable, then tell me something. Why would he try to hide his crimes? His crimes. Both you and Edgeworth will be brought before a board of inquiry for what you did. Specifically, hiding and forging evidence. Of course, these are serious offenses. Why is it, though, that Chief Gant's name was never mentioned? Chief Gant. Edgeworth didn't know the truth behind the forgery. The only party who could have possibly tampered with evidence was me. I had access because I was second in command of that investigation. Yes, you, but also one other, Damon Gant. If you intend to accuse Chief Gant, you'll need more than just words. Show me proof that Chief Gant falsified evidence in that case. I just found this in a safe in the Chief's office. This jar piece and this piece of cloth. Do you know what these are? They're pieces of evidence from the SL9 incident. The person concealing evidence was none other than Chief Gant himself. Now tell me, why are you taking the blame for it? Touché, Mr. Wright. It's as you surmised. I cannot disobey the Chief's orders. Even if it means being found guilty for murder. Why not? Come now, Mr. Wright, you can't possibly expect me to be able to tell you that. 3 days ago, I had no choice but to cooperate. In the murder of Detective Goodman. Or perhaps I should say follow orders. Yes, that's more accurate than cooperate. Although I can't tell you the details, I can say that I was given an order that day. I need you to dispose of Bruce Goodman's body. You'll find it inside the trunk of Miles Edgeworth's car. Just as I suspected. Despite what everyone believes, you were not the one who murdered Detective Goodman. Correct. I was trying to take the body out of Edgeworth's car. The trunk's lock was broken, and I discovered that murder weapon while inspecting the body. Murder weapon? You mean Edgeworth's knife? No. When I found the body, this was the knife that was stuck in it. A knife from the SL9 incident, serial killer Joe Dark's knife. I couldn't just leave that knife in him, so I took it out and stabbed him with another knife. That would be Edgeworth's knife. That's right. Even though he was already dead, my hands were shaking at the thought of stabbing him. That's why I ended up cutting my hand. And that's the reason for the bandage on your right hand. Yes. It seems that I got blood on the victim's shoes as well. And then she saw me just as I plunged the knife in. Miss Starr, huh? Why did you need to hide Dark's knife so badly? It took a lot of work to finally close the Dark case 2 years ago. It was over with. I didn't ever want it to be opened again. My intent was to prevent that by whatever means possible. So you hid Dark's knife. The weapon used to stab the detective was evidence in the Joe Dark case. If word got out, which it would, the reporters would have a field day with that. So you wrapped the knife in your scarf and hid it. Edgeworth's exhaust pipe. Right. Then I called my sister. Tell her what happened, and to ask her to hide the knife that was inside my muffler. You asked Emma. I didn't want anyone on the force to know about this. That would explain why Emma is so confident about Lana's innocence. Speaking of phone calls, I had a bad feeling about one of them that day. A bad feeling? The truth is, after I received those orders from Chief Gant, the first thing I did was make a phone call. A phone call to Patrolman Jake Marshall. To Marshall? Why on earth would you call him? Like, ever? The lead investigator for the SL9 incident had been murdered. I wanted that fact kept hidden and I needed help. He was the only other person I could trust, or at least I thought I could trust him at the time. However, it seems that after I spoke to him, he went off on an escapade of his own. Oh, you mean, not wanting the case to die, he decided to take things into his own hands. He disguised himself as Goodman and tried to steal the evidence. He had already stolen the ID card, but it seems he still hadn't made up his mind to break into the evidence room. After my phone call, any remaining doubts he had must have disappeared. So your phone call caused the incident in the evidence room. I'm afraid that's all I can tell you. But Lana, you've earned my respect, Mr. Wright, both as a defense attorney and an investigator. Now, please, don't pursue this any further in court tomorrow. Tomorrow's trial. There's only one way to drive off Lana's demons. I've got to get to the bottom of everything. Detective Goodman's real murderer. And what went down in the chief's office 2 years ago. To be continued. Alright, we'll be back in just a few minutes. Don't go anywhere. Alright, looks like I'm back. Let's continue on where we left off. Hope you all stretched your legs or whatever the equivalent is for your species. February 25, 9:47 a.m., District Court, Defendant Lobby number 2. This is the defendant lobby, all right, but there's no defendant. Been trying to reach Lana all morning. Where could she be? And where's Emma, for that matter? It almost seems as if something's been happening behind the scenes. Oh, wrong voice. Something's been happening behind the scenes. Edgeworth! Knowing you, you've already figured it out. Who the owner of 77, etc. ID number is, that is. Well, I have a pretty strong hunch. Looks like I'm not the only one who figured it out. You know, the only reason this trial didn't reach a verdict yesterday is because there was still room for doubt regarding this ID record. If that number does belong to whom you suspect, then no doubt will remain. After all, he hasn't been officially charged with anything. True, not yet. In any event, once all doubt has been removed from the list, I can call for a ruling. 5 minutes, Wright, and Chief Prosecutor Skye will be found guilty. But she didn't do it! I figured you'd say as much. That's why I came here, to hear what you have to say. This is the first time he's ever done something like this. Lana's hiding something, and the only way we'll ever know the truth is to draw it out of her. The truth. Everything goes back to the SL9 incident. Don't be stupid. Today's the last day of the trial. We don't have time to reminisce about the past. Depends on you. If she's found guilty, you will lose your only chance to find out what really happened. I'll think about it. See you in court, Wright. Well, Fel3, you better keep stretching then. Stretch all of them legs. This is it. If I'm ever gonna find out what Chief Gant has on her, it's now. February 25, 10 a.m., District Court, courtroom number 9. Court is now in session for the trial of Ms. Lana Skye. The defense is ready, Your Honor. The prosecution is ready, Your Honor. Normally, this is when the prosecution puts forth its opening statement. But before that, the police chief has a proposal to Chief Gant. Morning, folks! How's everyone doing? Hey, G, been back to the pool yet? No, I've been drowning enough as it is in my work. Oh, that's a good one. Don't think I can top that. If you don't mind me asking, Chief, exactly what is this proposal of yours? Lana, that is to say, the defendant, has asked me if she could speak directly to the court. She wants to do what? Having heard what she intends to say, I feel she should be granted her request. In the end, it should save everyone a lot of time and trouble. Oh good, I'm not the only one who thought it was strange that he just sort of faded into existence. What's this all about, defendant? I'd like to make one simple request and I'll be finished. Well then, what's your request? Your Honor, I'd like you to put an immediate end to this trial. Huh? I confess to all charges against me. On February 21 of this year, I murdered Detective Bruce Goodman in the underground parking lot of the prosecutor's office. No, Lana! You can't! Well, usually, instead of fading into existence, the camera just moves and they're already there. I don't recall another time when someone faded in like that. Your Honor, the defendant's claim does not change the defense's plea. In that case, Mr. Wright, I no longer require your services. But Lana! Your Honor, I hereby forfeit my right to an attorney. The prosecution may lack direct evidence against me, but it has sufficiently proven its case through testimony and circumstantial evidence. I would like you to render your verdict now, if you please. Well, the defendant certainly has the right to self-representation. Her request is legally valid, although this is an unprecedented situation. Indeed, it appears there's no further need to continue this trial, even if Mr. Wright may feel otherwise. This can't be happening. It appears the time for the verdict has arrived. This court finds the defendant... Objection! One moment, Your Honor. Mr. Edgeworth, the prosecution has not yet proven the defendant guilty beyond reasonable doubt. Any ruling at this stage would certainly be premature. Come now, Worthy. I understand this is a difficult time for you. But why don't you just be a good little boy and keep your mouth shut, I don't think I care for your tone, Chief Gant. What? Creating another fabrication to cover up your past mistakes. Sorry, but I'm no longer the naive little boy you would have me be. With this sudden confession from the defendant, it's obvious to me some kind of deal was struck behind the scenes. Some kind of deal, Not everyone operates as you do. Worthy. I thought so. Your Honor, the prosecution would like to change its first witness. Oh? To who? As its first witness, the prosecution would like to call Ms. Emma Skye. I request the court hears her testimony. Mr. Edgeworth, I am exercising my right to self-representation. I don't think we need to continue. I don't care what you think, Ms. Sky. The exposure of truth sometimes results in tragedy. However, no matter how tragic the truth may be, it would be an even greater tragedy to avert one's eyes from it. Very well. The court shall grant the prosecution's request. That's okay with you, right, Chief Gant? Worthy. You'll live to regret this. Mark my words. Miss Emma Sky, please take the stand. Looks like Edgeworth has decided to take the horse by the reins, or the chief by the collars, or the judge by the gavel. Now then, witness, please state your name and occupation.
My name is Emma Sky. My occupation, I'm Lana's little sister, and I want to be a scientific investigator.
Two years ago, you encountered the serial killer Joe Dark of the Joe Dark killings. Is this correct?
Yes. I'm trying my hardest to forget about that, though.
I'm sorry, but I'm afraid I'm going to have to ask you to recall those events one more time. Mr. Edgeworth, please remember this trial concerns the murder of Detective Goodman. Is an incident that was resolved 2 years ago really all that relevant? Yes, it most certainly is. Okay then! He sure gave in fast. Now, please testify about what happened to you 2 years ago. Trip to yesteryear has finally begun. It's bound to lead to the truth behind this trial. 2 years ago.
I was waiting in my sister's office that day. A man came running in and took me hostage. Neil Marshall rescued me, but I'll never forget what I saw in that instant. The man raised up his knife and stabbed Mr. Marshall in the chest.
It's a good thing you weren't harmed.
I passed out. I don't remember much.
That's understandable. However, please tell me, Mr. Edgeworth, what does this testimony have to do with Detective Goodman's murder? That will soon become apparent, Your Honor. You have got to admire him for his courage, considering he has no evidence. Very well. The defense may begin its cross-examination.
I was waiting in my sister's office that day. A man came running in and took me hostage. Neil...
Oh, right. I gotta actually... See, I'm out of practice.
I was waiting in my sister's office that day.
2 years ago, the defendant was a detective at the police department, correct?
Yes, she was second in command under then Deputy Chief of Police Gant. My sister was the best detective ever.
Yes, I remember. Deputy Chief Gant and Miss Sky used to be quite the pair. I believe they shared the same office.
That's right. I'd always sit at my sister's desk and dream about playing that organ. I wanted to play it that day, too.
The police department and the prosecutor's office held a ceremony then.
Lana promised to take me to dinner after she finished her work. A man came running in, and he took me hostage.
A man?
Yes, Joe Dark. He was a serial killer.
Joe Dark brought in for questioning on the day of that. Joe Dark was brought in for questioning on the day of that ceremony. We were desperate to get anything on him that would lead to an arrest. When he saw his chance, he fled the room, right? Upon fleeing the room, Joe Dark proceeded to take the elevator. He must have been in a panic because the elevator was going up. Then he ran into Sky and Gant's office.
There was a lot of noise coming from outside, so I opened up the door to have a look, and that's when I saw him. Neil Marshall rescued me.
What was the prosecutor doing there? That day, there were two people present during Dark's questioning. Deputy Chief Damon Gant and Prosecutor Neil Marshall. Almost forgot about Gant. Neil Marshall had just received the King of Prosecutors award. Young and dedicated, he went straight to the questioning room after the ceremony. I assume that would also be why he was the first to run after Dark.
When Dark grabbed me, I thought I was good as dead.
And that's when Prosecutor Marshall came running in.
I don't clearly remember what happened then, but I'll never forget what I saw in that instant.
Can you tell us about that?
Mr. Marshall jumped on Dark. Just then, the lights went out.
The lights?
It was just about this time of year. There was a terrible storm going on and lightning struck nearby.
So the electricity went out. Wait a minute. If it was pitch dark in the room, you shouldn't have been able to see anything, right?
Right, but just then lightning flashed again outside. That sudden flash left an unforgettable image of the scene in my mind.
I see.
I told the detective about what I saw then.
The detective?
Yes, Detective Goodman. He was in charge of the case.
Detective Bruce Goodman, the victim. So you spoke with Detective Goodman about this 2 years ago?
Yes. That's what's so scary about the trial.
And you told Detective Goodman about what you saw?
Yes, but at the time, the words just wouldn't come out. That's why I drew a picture.
Picture? Yeah, I think she mentioned that before. Well, Mr. Wright, have you heard enough? This picture the witness drew, I believe it has a very important meaning. But the list of evidence I was given 2 years ago didn't contain a picture. Witness, would you mind if we added this statement to your testimony?
Yes, Your Honor. I drew a picture of that scene once, but it seems to have been lost.
You drew a picture of the scene you witnessed, right?
Yes, I wanted to do everything I could to help the investigation. I can still see it now whenever I close my eyes.
That's strange. I took over the case after Prosecutor Marshall died, yet I never received any picture. Perhaps the witness is mistaken.
But I did draw it, I swear. I'm not just imagining it.
Picture that Emma drew. That reminds me. Guess I should check the evidence again. Well, anyway, let's continue. Seeing that imprinted an image on your mind, can you please describe it for us?
The man...
Mr. Edgeworth, this little girl put all her heart into drawing that picture. And yet you would insist on denying its existence. Huh? Hey, I'm not the bad guy. All I'm saying is that as the prosecutor for the case, I was not handed such a picture. That may well be, but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Behold! This is the evidence list for the SL9 incident. Please, turn it over, Your Honor. Turn it over? Turn it... Oh! What's this? Yes, what is that?
Hey, that's it! That's the picture I drew!
Indeed, two men appear to be wrestling here. What's the meaning of this? What are you doing with that list? Me? Only the prosecutor in charge should have access to that list. Huh? These lists, they're They're different from each other. What? It would appear, Mr. Edgeworth, that the evidence list you were handed 2 years ago was incomplete. These two lists fit together to form one. You can see the marks here where they were torn apart. So you see, Mr. Edgeworth, it's quite obvious what happened. 2 years ago? Well, it could be wrestling. That could be some ECW shit. Only half the evidence in that case ever reached you. What? What? Order! Order! But Miss Sky, why did you draw your picture on the back of such an important list?
Because that's what Detective Goodman handed me in the questioning room, Your Honor.
Wait a minute. If this list was torn in half, then that means... Your Honor. Are you all right, Mr. Wright? Your eyes are bulging from your head. If the evidence list was torn in half, then there might be more of the drawing on the back of Mr. Edgeworth's list. Yes, that's quite conceivable, Mr. Edgeworth. It's possible. Let's see. I never looked at the back of this paper before. I've been holding it for 2 years. Is something wrong? Do you even have to ask? Sorry, Your Honor. There is indeed something drawn on the back of my list. It's that thing. Oh, shit. The Blue Badger was the murderer. That's that thing. That thing that was dancing in the evidence room. Clearly, this act of vandalism is the work of a certain chief of detectives. I guess he was out of scrap paper. Very well, witness. Will you please testify about this picture you drew 2 years ago?
Huh? Oh, yes, sir, Your Honor.
What's wrong with Emma? She seems to be thinking about something when she looked at the picture. Emma's picture.
This is the picture I drew 2 years ago. The flash of lightning was so bright, all I could see were shadows. After that, I must have fainted. This picture shows exactly what I saw in that instant.
To think a flash of lightning could burn such an image into your mind. Thanks to that, though, she was able to show us exactly what she saw. Well, I don't see any contradictions here. This clearly shows Joe Dark about to murder prosecutor Neil Marshall. The defense may now begin its cross-examination.
This is the picture I drew 2 years ago.
ECW was supposed to be the edgy teenagers version of WWF in early 2000s and late 90s, around there. Basically, it was professional wrestling, but with way more blood and swearing. Did you draw this picture right after the incident? Also titties.
I think I drew it 2 or 3 days later. At first, I was in such a state of shock that I couldn't do anything.
During that time, the investigation team was reorganized. Detective Goodman was placed in charge, under the direction of Damon Gant and Lana Skye. 2 or 3 days later, the memory should still have been fresh in her mind. Excuse me, witness! But can you please tell us why this picture is painted all black? I think she's already explained that pretty well.
The flash of lightning was so bright all I could see were shadows.
So at that time, you didn't even know it was Mr. Marshall who had come to your rescue?
No, I couldn't see him clearly. The lightning was so bright, and I was knocked to the floor.
You were knocked to the floor.
Dark had a tight grip on me, but when Mr. Marshall jumped on him, I was knocked away. I turned around, and that's when the lightning flashed.
Poor Emma. I'm just glad she wasn't hurt. What happened after the lightning flashed?
After that, I must have fainted.
You mean you didn't see the actual murder take place?
No, I'm sorry.
The flash of lightning only drove off the darkness for a split second. Not only that, but the trauma of the situation understandably caused the witness to faint. Do you really need to torture this girl any further? What? Hey, I'm not the bad guy here!
Anyway, this picture. So it's exactly what I saw in that instant.
Sorry for asking you so many times, but are you sure you drew exactly what you saw? Like, even with the tip of the knife already broken off?
Of course, this is the exact scene.
It wasn't influenced by in any way from your talks with the detectives. Are you insinuating we somehow manipulated her memory, Mr. Wright? No, of course not! Better watch out or he might find some way to cut my salary.
I drew this picture before I heard anything from the detective, so I don't think anyone's story would have influenced it.
Mr. Wright, is there something that's bothering you about the picture? Huh? Oh, well... That's strange. She claims it's exactly the scene that was imprinted in her mind, and yet there's clearly a contradiction here. Your Honor, this statement contradicts this evidence. Well, apparently I have to do it a different way. I've got the right idea, but this one is not quite as well written as the previous episodes. So I guess now we show the knife? It's either the knife or Marshall's autopsy. No. Unless I'm concentrating on entirely the wrong thing. There we go. See, any one of those things should have worked. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but this picture the witness drew contains a blatant contradiction.
What? But I still remember it just like it was yesterday.
Mr. Wright, perhaps it would be faster if you simply pointed out this contradiction for us. What part of the picture contradicts the autopsy report? The contradiction, of course, lies here. Take a look at the knife the man's holding. If you look closely, you can see its tip is broken. Even I don't have to look closely to see that, Mr. Wright.
Mr. Wright, look at the evidence. See the murder weapon? The tip is broken too.
If I recall, the tip of the knife was found broken off in the victim's body.
It was a conclusive piece of evidence that proved Joe Dark was the murderer.
I'm afraid it's not so simple, Emma. And where, pray tell, could you possibly see a problem? It's obvious, really. The victim suffered a single stab wound to the back. If the victim was only stabbed once, then the murder weapon should not yet be broken. Whoa! What's the meaning of this? Perhaps the knife was broken beforehand. Sorry, but I'm afraid that's not possible. The tip of the knife was found inside the victim's body. If it was broken beforehand, it couldn't possibly wind up there. That's right. But what does that mean? The tip of the knife was undeniably discovered within the victim's body. The only possible explanation is the witness's memory is mistaken. That's why I asked her so many times if she was sure she remembered correctly. I believe you were annoyed at the time, but she was sure she remembered correctly. But there's no other way to explain this inconsistency. Not so fast, Mr. Edgeworth. There is another explanation. Have you forgotten already? About a little something called falsified evidence. You're treading on thin ice, Wright. All I'm saying is that this broken knife tip might be the piece of evidence that was forged. You can't deny the possibility. No. Ah! Order! Order! Are you saying the investigation really was corrupted? Your Honor, please allow me to once again go over the events that took place the day of the murder. The police department and the prosecutor's office were holding a ceremony that day. After receiving the King of Prosecutors Award at the ceremony, Neil Marshall questioned Joe Dark along with Damon Gant. During his questioning, Joe Dark fled the room. Prosecutor Marshall chased after him and was killed by Dark. It's my belief that somewhere in this story there's a lie.
I'm not lying. The man really was holding up a broken knife.
If that's true, then there's no other way around it. This could not have been the actual murder weapon. There must have been another broken knife. The chances of there being two broken knives. A broken knife besides Joe Dark's. There have been one. If the witness is this adamant about the accuracy of what she saw, it can't just be explained away by a simple observational error.
Mr. Wright.
I mean, it can. That's kind of how memory is. But in that instant, Emma really did see a broken knife. I assume, then, that you have some information about this other broken knife? If so, please feel free to enlighten us, Mr. Wright. Share your gum with the rest of the court. I'd love some gum. The murder weapon was already broken prior to the murder. There's only one way. Take a look at this. Here's the real murder weapon. The screwdriver? Is it a screwdriver? My attorney's badge! Like, I'm actually trying to figure this out. There's reason to believe it could be the screwdriver or the pot. If anything's broken here, it's you. Huh? I'm pretty sure this must be all very amusing to you, Mr. Wright. Yeah. But may I remind you that the fate of Ms. Lana Skye hangs in the balance. Sorry, Your Honor. Please, give me another chance. The murder weapon was already broken prior to the murder. There's only one way. Oh, of course, the halberd piece. No? It seems so obvious. There's so many broken things in the evidence list.
Put up the tray.
The answer lies in the past. 2 years in the past. So, like, again, in the first 4 chapters, the trophy itself would have also sufficed. 2 years in the past. Right here inside this picture. This is the picture of the award ceremony. This is the picture of the award ceremony. Ah. What is it, Mr. Edgeworth? It's the broken murder weapon. Notice the award Prosecutor Marshall is holding.
That's a broken knife.
Hi there, Chris-san. Thanks for coming to check us out. As we earlier concluded, the knife in the drawing was not Joe Dark's knife. That being the case, the knife the witness saw was in all likelihood from this award. Order! 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 Neil Marshall was awarded the King of Prosecutors that day. As an award, he was given this broken shield and knife. When he chased after Joe Dark, he pulled out this knife. Being a prosecutor, he did not carry a pistol. This broken knife was the only weapon he had in his dangerous situation. But that can't be! Oh, and why not, Mr. Edgeworth? Because if the King of Prosecutors award knife was the murder weapon, then the murder and the victim would be reversed. What do you mean? I mean, the man raising the knife would have to have been Prosecutor Neil Marshall. Oh! Oh! But the prosecutor was the one who actually died. That's true. What's going on here? It seems Mr. Wright has been a bit too eager to jump to conclusions.
Wait, I remember now. I remember everything.
Witness?
Mr. Edgeworth,
What is it?
could you show me your evidence list again, please?
His list? The one with that picture scribbled on the back?
I knew it. This picture. I'm the one who drew it.
What? You drew that?
That's right. The list wasn't torn in half at the time I drew this picture. All this time I've been trying so hard to forget. I must have locked this part away deep inside me. That horrible, horrible dance.
Perhaps it would be best if we added this to the witness's testimony. Would you please tell us what you've recalled, Miss Sky?
Yes, Your Honor.
First the knife mix-up and now the blue badger? This should be interesting. The music sounds to me like a carousel that doesn't have enough voltage going to it.
When I saw that man raise his knife,
The blue badger is the murderer, I knew it!
I panicked and rushed towards both of them. I think I knocked away the man with the knife. Just then there was another flash of lightning, and that's when I saw the blue badger.
And Emma spelled backwards is admin.
He wasn't in the room, but I'm sure I saw his shadow.
We are not calling the Blue Badger to the witness stand, Riz. This is certainly most unusual. Try impossible. The chief of detectives hadn't even designed him until this year. Would mean he didn't even exist 2 years ago. Yes, well, the defense may now begin its cross-examination. Stop, please. Don't pursue this any further. Lana, what's the meaning of this? Please remain seated in the defendant's chair. But you can't do this. I've already confessed to the crime. Why can't you just leave it at that? Chief Prosecutor Scott. We've already come this far. It's too late to turn back. Silence! The defense will now begin its cross-examination. Bailiff, please detain the defendant. Seems we're finally getting to the core of the matter. And the judge is actually getting really, really angry.
When I saw that man raise his knife.
When you say that man, I assume you refer to Joe Dark.
Yes. At least I think it was him.
You think?
All I could really see were shadows.
The power outage that immediately preceded the incident is also documented in the prosecutor's office reports. So then you... Geez, Judge. I get it's been a long few days, but...
I panicked and rushed toward both of them.
Why would you do something so dangerous? I'm retroactively angry at you for putting yourself in danger even though I didn't know you 2 years ago.
What else could I have done? He was about to stab Mr. Marshall.
She seems convinced that Dark was the one holding the knife. But as we've just theorized, Mr. Marshall was the one holding the knife.
Well, I didn't know that at the time. When that Dark guy knocked me down, all I could think was, I've got to help that other person. I think I knocked away the man with the knife.
What do you mean you think?
It all happened so fast, and I was in shock. I don't remember everything clearly. What I did, it's all kind of a blur.
Miss Skye was almost killed before she was witness to a murder about to take place. With so much happening in a matter of seconds, a little disorientation is only natural.
I saw the man about to stab the other person, who I thought was Mr. Marshall. I knew I had to stop the man with the knife.
What you did was very brave, young girl, so then what happened next?
Just then there was another flash of lightning, and that's when I saw the Blue Badger, the terror that dances in the daylight.
Are you sure about this?
Of course, see? I even drew a picture of him there.
But it was the chief of detectives who thought up this hideous beast. And that was just this year. The Blue Badger didn't exist 2 years ago. This is all quite verifiable.
I know it sounds strange. I was surprised too when I saw him at the police department. I had this nagging feeling that I'd seen him before somewhere. Now I finally remember.
Oh, brother. Just when you thought that that thing had caused enough commotion. Tell us, where in the room did you see him dancing?
He wasn't in the room, but I'm sure I saw his shadow.
His shadow? So you mean you didn't actually see his face with its winning smile and all?
That's right, but I still remember it. He had 3 creepy horns.
This is pointless. That thing couldn't have possibly existed 2 years ago. The witness must be mistaken. That may well be. But what's important is what caused her to think she saw what she did. Oh, and I suppose you have an explanation. If so, then by all means, please tell us what this shadow really was. What was it Emma saw when the lightning flashed? Who is the Blue Badger, really? The Blue Badger hadn't even been dreamt up when Emma drew this picture, yet she's certain she saw its shadow. Ladies and gentlemen, it is the defense's belief that on that fateful day 2 years ago, there indeed was something that looked similar to the Blue Badger. Something that's now sitting in this very room. Police Chief Damon Gant.
Mr. Wright.
In this room. Very well, Mr. Wright. What is it that the witness saw in that instant? Please show this mysterious Blue Badger lookalike. The Blue Badger! Huh. Would you look at that? The mysterious Blue Badger was, in fact, this. But that's... what exactly is that? I think it's some kind of jar.
Mr. Wright, that doesn't look anything like the Blue Badger.
Indeed it doesn't. As it stands now, it's just a plain jar. However, what if we were to change our viewpoint? Our viewpoint? I've got to show them the correct angle to make this look like the Blue Badger. That's pretty close, right? Well, is that a miracle or what? No one can possibly deny this jar's resemblance to the Blue Badger. Oh, I should have checked if there was evidence for when I, or dialogue for when I pitched the Blue Badger. Order! Order! The defense has proven its claim. The mysterious Blue Badger witnessed on the day of the crime was actually this. Although we all enjoyed Mr. Wright's dramatic performance, one question remains. What's your point? What do you mean? So that Badger thing was actually just a jar. That doesn't change anything. I'm afraid that's where you're wrong, Mr. Edgeworth. You see, this changes everything. Indeed. Very well then, please tell us. What's different now that we know the witness saw this jar? Allow me to take these in turn. At the moment of the murder, the witness saw this jar. At a very specific angle, I might add, Mr. Wright. Yes, well, knowing this, where could she have seen this jar? Where? The location of the jar is shown in this picture taken on the day of the crime. It's on a shelf in the office of Damon Gans. But the body was found lying near Lana Sky's desk. The witness testified so herself. Yes, and it's these two facts that reveal what actually transpired. You see, the struggle between Dark and Marshall did not take place in Lana Sky's office. It happened on the other side of the room in Chief Gant's office. Are you implying the murderer moved the victim's body from Damon Gant's office to Lana Sky's office? Yes. Why would he do that? There's no reason. Exactly. Right, I'm about to pick you up and throw you out a goddamn window. This is some bullshit you're pulling right here. If there wasn't a reason, he wouldn't have gone through the trouble. The only logical conclusion is that there was a reason. Do you know what that reason is, Mr. Wright? Finally figured it out. So this is why Lana tried to stop the trial. It's too late to quit now, though. Please recall the witness's testimony. She said she knocked away the man who was holding up the knife. In the next instant, the jar was hit and flew through the air. Now tell me, what could have sent the jar flying? That would have to have been the impact the man made when he was knocked into the wall. Ladies and gentlemen, if I may draw your attention to the picture once more. If the man was knocked in the direction of the shelf the jar was sitting on, what would he have hit? Ah! The suit of armor, holding a very sharp and dangerous-looking sword. Thank you, Christy. Yes. Since the man who was knocked into the armor was carrying a broken knife, he would have had to have been Neil Marshall, wielding the King of Prosecutors trophy. No, Mr. Wright, you can't be thinking. Yes. There's another possibility of what actually transpired in that room. Another possibility? Of course, the perpetrator would have had no idea, but nevertheless... I don't know if I can go through with this? Mr. Wright, what's the matter? If events took place as the defense theorizes, then the outcome is obvious. In that moment, assuming the man Emma Skye knocked away was actually Prosecutor Neil Marshall. You mean Mr. Marshall died because of me? No! I never imagined her testimony would lead to this. So it was the witness who took the victim's life, and proved so with her own testimony. This is unprecedented. Actually, I think it's happened in every case you've been a part of, Mr. Wright. Isn't that weird? What are you saying? I'm sorry, Ms. Skye, but given the circumstances, Joe Dark murdered Prosecutor Marshall. How can you think it was Emma? How dare you try to pin the crime on her? Imagine that coming from you. If you recall, it was you who admitted to forging evidence 2 years ago. The reason you moved Prosecutor Marshall's body was to keep anyone else from finding out about what Emma did, wasn't it? I assure you, Mr. Edgeworth, I have no idea what you're talking about. If you hope to have anyone believe your insane allegations, I'm afraid you're going to have proof. Tell me, do you have any conclusive evidence that proves my sister killed Neil Marshall? Evidence? Why do I need evidence in a courtroom? I'm willing to bet you don't. Yes, it certainly would be difficult to prove this with evidence. Well, if we don't have evidence, then we'll have to rely on testimony. I'm afraid that won't work in this case. Both parties involved in the incident are dead. We certainly can't get dead people to testify. What are we, Republicans? This has all been a wild goose chase from the beginning. Oh, that's a low blow, I know. Ha! Touché, Ms. Sky. Of course, that only leaves us with one possibility. You mean there's still another possibility? What do you mean, Mr. Edgeworth? I mean the possibility that the victim has left us a message. For better or for worse, Mr. Marshall did not die instantly. He may have left behind the name of the person who took his life, in one manner or another. That's impossible. Well, Mr. Wright, this is the only possibility left to you. Well, at this point, Phoenix Wright doesn't know there's such a thing as a real psychic medium. Oh, wait. A message from the deceased? Does such a message exist? Got to think back to the court record. The real murderer's name that the victim may have left behind is in the evidence. This message from the deceased is already in our possession. Mr. Wright, will you stop at nothing to prove my sister a murderer? It's manslaughter. Do not be mistaken, Miss Scott. Our purpose is not to accuse Emma of any crime. There's only one thing we seek. The truth. No matter how painful it may be. Now then, Mr. Wright, please show us the piece of evidence that conveys a message from the deceased. This is the message left by the deceased. This is that blue badger from before, right? Oh, is he going to just speak the killer's name? If that thing could, I'm sure it would. Oh, looks like everyone's forgotten this is just a jar. A message was left here, on the surface of the jar. What do you mean? If you look closely, you can see a faint trail of blood on this jar. That's exactly right, Xenon. It looks like someone wiped the blood away. Yes, but notice, for some reason, the blood on some of the fragments was not wiped away. Yeah, there's a line here drawn in blood. So what you're saying is that these dots were once lines. Prosecutor Marshall did not die instantly. He used the few precious moments left to him to leave behind a message. One that someone apparently wiped away. But blood must have seeped into the jar where the lines changed directions. Precisely so. All we need to do is connect these points and the victim's message will become apparent. No. Mr. Wright? What kind of message did the victim leave for us, Your Honor? I believe these bloodstains will reveal the answer. I've got to connect these dots to make letters. There's only one thing the victim would have written given the circumstances. His murderer's name. Trying to figure out how to make it say Gant. It's a defense attorney's duty to prove their client's innocence. Why, all I've been thinking about is saving Lana. For all my efforts, I never thought it would turn out like this. Emma. So this is the final message Prosecutor Marshall left behind. Of all people. She may not have meant it, but in the end, the one who took the victim's life was Emma Skye. Seaworthy, can't say I didn't warn you. Chief Gans, do you understand the implications of what you've done? What? What are you talking about? 2 years ago, Joe Dark was sentenced to death. He was convicted because of his final murder. I believe you were the prosecutor in that case, were you not? Ah. Yes, Worthy. Because of you, an innocent man was sentenced to death. Not only that, but you used forged evidence to ensure his conviction. Gah! Gah! But Joe Dark really was a serial murderer, and that's undeniable. I'm afraid that's not important. Didn't you know we aren't defenders of justice? What? We're merely keepers of the law. Sentencing a man to death is no light matter. Even if there wasn't any cover-up or evidence forgery, ultimately the responsibility falls on the prosecutor in charge. Despite what anyone may say, this fact cannot be denied. What's going on at the prosecutor's office? He might have been an innocent man to his death. How can he just stand there like it wasn't his fault? Order! 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 The gavel's pounding fell on deaf ears. Unable to settle the crowd, the judge declared a recess. Where the trial is headed, no one knows. So, holy shit, we've got another stream of this, I guess. Which means that the game will wrap up in 13 parts. But I'm not going to continue on right now because it's 15 minutes after 11. Thanks, everyone, for coming. Schedule for the next week is looking pretty good. Tomorrow is going to be Sue with The Surge 2. Thursday will be Alice with Christy playing Doom Eternal. Friday will be Katie playing Luigi's Mansion 3. And then at nighttime for the late shift on both Friday and Monday, Alice will be playing more Xenoblade Chronicles. And Monday will be Christy finishing up Tony Hawk's Underground. So that's going to be awesome. Oh, right. Sunday's a community stream, too. That's fun. Thank you once again for hitting donate and Taylor in the chat, Bad Road. As I said at the head of the stream, there are civil rights protests ongoing right now as we speak, as I stream. As you watch me play video games, there are much more important things going on out there. And racism is not over simply because we got the fascist man out of the big office. Please, please take a look at those links, see what you can do. Once again, I'm going to repeat, Black Lives Matter, the lives of people of color matter, Indigenous lives and lands matter. And we need to hold those at the top to that. We need to make sure that they not only acknowledge it, but act upon it. We have a YouTube with content that goes back a couple years now. Thousands of hours of content if you want something to binge on. And you can also see how our quality has gone up over time. Oh, it's good shit on there. We've also got a schedule for our whole team at truckcommunity.neocities.org, so check that out as well if you want to see more streams like ours. All right. Thanks, everyone, for coming. We've got a few days left till the end of the month. It's completely understandable that we haven't gotten any bits this month. We started late, and it has continued to be kind of a shit show as far as our internet goes.
it looks like it's fixed for now, and I hope that it continues to be that way. We have not lost a single frame this whole stream. We had technicians out. We've had technicians out twice now. As per its usual pattern, right before they came out, our internet suddenly and miraculously was fixed. Which would be great if it's not the thing that happened every single time and was so fucking bizarre. But hopefully we'll be able to continue to stream every night like our normal schedule calls for. All right. Thanks everyone for coming, and we'll see you next time. Good night.